You know what? Can I ask him something? I've never. Now that the special is...
This is so weird because Travis and I have done 3 interviews together over an hour. We filmed a special together, and you've got something you've never said. Okay.
What I've noticed now that the special...
We needed a place where the house looks like it could be condemned soon, but the podcast room is immaculate. I mean, that's so fucking America right now. That's so fucking white. Do you remember Full Sail?
Yeah, that would have been another amazing.
Yeah, dude. I remember I used to read all the guitar magazines when I was a kid, and I wanted to go to Full Sail so bad. I'm sure it's a scam. I'm pretty sure it was a scam.
Full Sail, that's Dan Patrick, isn't it?
No, it was a media mixing
Florida,
program.
Right?
Yeah, it was a media mixing studio engineer program.
I think it's exactly.
But it was before the internet.
I think it's exactly what MediaTek does here,
right?
Florida, but I think they had a lot of it. See, they sold it like it was bigger.
Yeah. It looked like hey,
you're definitely
going to
get
be
a job.
like a hit engineer. Yeah, if you want to be a studio producer.
But all commercials of engineers, it's the same shot, right? It's like they've got a camera in the room, and then you push a fader up or you turn a knob, and they're like, "Come learn to do this," and that's all they ever do.
Exactly.
You can't get much action.
I wanted to do it so bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was so funny. The first time I walked into MediaTek, I was just like a little kid in a candy store because they just have all these platinum records from all the artists that use the studios there. Mm-hmm. And the first one I walk in, I see Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I completely. I was going in to audition for the movie, and I just stopped going to do that. I was just staring at all the records, and Blake had to come find me and like, you fucking idiot, come on.
What movie did you audition for?
His one right behind you, actually, Whiskey Seltzer.
Yeah, don't watch it.
Don't
don't watch it. It's not good.
So did you get the part or no?
Oh yeah. So I got the part of Michael Lee Jensen, which was just a guy on a mental break, basically.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he had to go out and find a comic for that one, and it made the most sense. It worked out that you went comic because I don't think a regular person would have been able to even come close to that. I did a terrible job, and
I mean, we all did a terrible job, but,
but that's what you do
when you're new.
Yeah.
Have you ever auditioned for a movie?
No. I've never auditioned for anything, I don't think.
Do you remember the movie? I don't know how old y'all are, but do you remember the movie Little Giants?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Our parents dragged me and my brother out to Las Colinas Studios to audition,
right?
Which was really just, we had no idea what was going on. They're like, show up, read paper, and we're not actors, so it was horrible and embarrassing, and then we leave. But it was like, 5,000 kids showed up to hopefully get in a movie.
I remember my sister did
after.
that. My sister did that for some, it was modeling and acting, so it was just to pay like $300 and come in and get both. And it was really just we want your $300, now leave this hotel room, ballroom. And then we're going to leave too, and you'll never get your money back.
Yeah, I've had women do that to me.
On that note, I am very excited for today's episode. Thank you for coming back and watching another episode of the Dingbat District with me, your host, Paxton Bailey, and 2 very new friends of mine that I can't wait to talk to. We have today Travis Wright and Lawrence Rosales.
Hello.
If y'all will go ahead and plug up y'all socials at the front half so we can get those out to the people watching.
Lawrence Rosales on everything. I got in early. I'm an old man, been around.
You've really got, that's such a generic name.
It's not the real Lawrence Rosales or the fake Lawrence Rosales. It's just Lawrence Rosales. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. My podcast is called I'm a Fan Of. So everything's either at I'm a Fan Of or I'm a Fan Of Pod.
Right. And that's how we met, is I've been watching your I'm a Fan Of clips.
Thanks.
Please watch I'm a Fan Of.
Please do.
Our friend Shri was just on.
Yeah.
And that's where, as soon as you reached out, that's when I was getting Shri clips. I was like, oh, cool, we just did an episode with Shri, so that's awesome. And I've been watching Lawrence for a little bit now. He, about 2 months ago, was doing a 325 show at Fort Worth Hyenas. Please come out to Fort Worth Hyenas and any Lawrence Rosales show. He just shot a special on YouTube. Please go watch that. TRENA, TRENA.
Yeah, TRENA. Yeah, named after my mother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was such a good special, man. I just watched it. I just watched it again this morning. We were both laughing. Blake wouldn't even he didn't realize that was you. The guy that was coming on today was just the special we were watching.
Okay.
It looked fabulous too.
Yeah, that's all Travis right here, man. Travis
Thanks.
did a phenomenal job, man. Yeah.
That's so funny. But you brought up a couple things in the special that just had me kind of cackling at even just the premise before I heard the rest of the joke. But the one thing that really, I was cleaning when I was doing all this, and you said white babies are ugly.
Yeah, they are.
White
They are.
people grow into looking good, but white
Yeah.
babies are ugly. And baby just busts down cackling laughing because I've been in trouble so many times for calling my little cousins just like alien potatoes. Like once they
Yeah.
first pop out, you're like, why am I supposed to protect this? Like this thing is just
Yeah.
like a thing at this point.
Like I've always dated white women. Like I think white people are beautiful, but babies are gross. You know, white babies are. They just look like they need help at all times.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
look like they need help. The first time you see them, they're all gross and slimy, and
Yeah.
like whatever all that powdery stuff is. I got in so much trouble because the first time I held my cousin, my mom handed him to me without me realizing, and I just like held him there like a sack of potatoes, and he
Yeah.
started crying. I was like, I don't know what to do.
It's like
Just,
it's like
handing him
God
off.
balancing out the universe. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's like everything's gonna be okay for you, but you're gonna be ugly at first. You know, like it's kind of teach you a lesson. You know?
You have to be ugly now so things work out in the future.
yeah, exactly. You know.
We've never got to talk about how I feel about that joke because
Oh,
I
yeah,
have
that's
a
true.
white
Yeah.
son. And, you know, it's when you edit something and you hear it over and then you start looking at your own kid and you're like,
Damn.
he might be fucking gross. I don't know.
But he's gonna be okay. But he's gonna be okay. I look at my son and I don't know that.
yeah, his
You know,
rewards
I don't know that.
his rewards are on the back end.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
thing is he's your son, so you just have to love him. It's at
It's like
this
a
point-
401k, but for life.
Well,
you know
and
what I mean? It's like he's gonna, you know what I mean? This pays out later.
And
This pays out later.
it's frustrating when it's more accurate because you know I have more olive skin, right?
Right.
He's a redhead with pale skin. So when he came out, it was pink of the pink. you
Yeah,
know? And you're just
yeah.
like, hey, that's no, it's
No, that's spot on.
kind of dead on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're eating Gerber. You're not promoting Gerber. You know, there's a difference.
They come out angry, like they look like they've been constipated for 45 years as soon as they get
Yeah.
popped out. Like it's crazy. They just look so funny looking. But I know you have a son as well. How old is your son?
He's gonna be 3 this month.
3 this month. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really like what stage is he at this point?
Well, he's dumb.
Okay.
Real dumb. You know, real dumb. Falls down face first. No hands. No hands. You know, it's like, dude, that's not how you fall. You know what I mean?
You gotta brace yourself.
We don't
buddy.
have health insurance. I've been trying to run this new bit about how like, it's not even a bit, but just like an idea of like it makes me crazy. Like we're about to get it fixed, but currently my son does not have health insurance. And like sometimes I fucking hate this country. Where it's like my son, like I feel like a kid should, if a kid is born in this world, he should come out with liability,
Right.
At least, you know.
I don't
30,
care
60.
if I don't have health insurance, but this thing is gonna die. Like
Yeah,
he
he
falls face first without using his hands.
and he
Something's
doesn't have
gonna
a-
happen.
But like a child cannot have health insurance. But like if you buy a '93 Corolla, it cannot leave the lot without at least liability. Like that's fucked up. It says a lot about our country, I think.
My child is worth less than this Corolla. Are you fucking kidding me?
exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean. And they say it's like because a Corolla could hit somebody else and it could affect somebody's life. But I meet a lot of parents with children. I'm like, this kid's gonna rob somebody. 100%. Like this kid should have insurance too. You all should.
This snotty no kid's gonna ruin my kid.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
got health
I
insurance.
don't care what it is that you hate in life. That's somebody else's beautiful kid's fault. You know what I mean? Whatever it is you hate, that's somebody else's beautiful child came up with that thing, and they followed through on it and did it.
That's so great. I mean, just the idea that if you had the wherewithal to look beforehand, you're like, I'm gonna have a son, and you're like, all right, 5 years ahead of that, my kid is going to fucking ruin everything. Maybe I shouldn't.
Oh yeah, you know, Hitler's parents was like, look at these paintings. You know, these are great. These are great.
He's not all bad. I mean, he's really
Yeah.
got the breaststroke down and the brushwork. It looks
Yeah.
great.
Well, and that's
Yeah,
the thing.
Ted
is like,
Bundy, they're like, he's gorgeous. He's a Gerber baby. He's a good-looking kid. He's good-looking enough to totally murder people later. You know, get him in a van.
He's a gifted orator. Have you listened to his speeches? Maybe don't listen to him specifically, like very niche, but like
Yeah.
if you just hear it,
it was compelling.
yeah.
Yeah.
very
He
compelling.
made great. Well,
He is
I was
a
about to say he made
leader.
great points. I meant he had great energy.
I think
Yeah.
he meant that.
He was exactly what you need. It's like having that teacher that's a dickhead, but you respect him.
Yeah.
You're like, I needed the dickhead teacher, but god damn, you were mean.
Yeah, I feel that way all
My
the time.
son's 4, so pretty close to Lawrence's son's age.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
that's what we're going through now. You're just like, fuck, you can do everything right, and this person might be a piece of shit.
Oh yeah.
It gets to a point where it's out of your control, right?
Yeah, I think whoever shoots up the school, I mean, they're all at the same school. You know what I mean? It's like, but one of them just didn't read the paper right. You know what I mean? Like he didn't get the lesson.
That's
you know?
interesting.
Yeah. But they're all. I mean, at school, they're at the same school.
Similar environments.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, everybody else was okay.
there's always going to be one outlier.
Yeah.
And this outlier just happened to be a very bad child.
And
Yeah, exactly.
What does everyone say when there's like a serial killer or something, right? Or
He was
somebody
such
caught
a good guy.
Such a great guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never would have guessed.
Never would have guessed.
Maybe he was tired of being a good guy. You know what I mean? Maybe everybody was kind of treating him like shit and he kept being a good guy anyways. And eventually he's like, I'm going to murder everyone. I'm
Exactly.
done.
Maybe that's why it's good that you've had a couple really hard bumps in life.
Yeah, bumps.
That you won't.
That's a one way to put it. That's one way to put
I
it.
never know how to. You know what? Can I ask him something?
Yes.
I've never. Now that the special is
This is so weird because Travis and I have done 3 interviews together over an hour. We filmed a special together, and you've
You
got
needed a
something
different
you've never said. Okay.
what I've noticed now that the
We
special
needed a place where the house looks like it could be condemned soon, but the podcast room is immaculate. I mean that's so fucking America right now. That's so fucking white people in their 20s. Like the house is shit, but man, you should see the podcast
This one small
It's
room,
great.
I've got it.
Yeah, the room's terrible. The cameras are lovely though. They're great.
Yeah. Look at all like if you walked up to the front door of this house, you would never think there were these great of cameras in the fucking one of the rooms.
100%. Every single day, I get closer and closer to just sticking a pencil in an electrical socket. And see what
Yeah,
happens.
right.
Now that your special's been out, because we haven't got to talk a lot since it's been released. You know?
Right.
Yeah. I text him. He doesn't text back.
Shut up. You know, I'm always busy. Like, do you feel like people try to talk to you like your identity is 100% meth addict now?
No, I that's a great question. So when I went and did an interview with Dan and Jake of The Ticket,
Okay.
they interviewed me for 2 hours recently, which was like super cool for me because I grew up listening to The Ticket.
Right.
with
Yeah.
my
Big
best friend.
P1.
Yeah, so Dan McDowell, I went to his house, and Dan McDowell interviewed me for 2 hours.
Wow.
And I think I made the smart move of like, I didn't walk in and immediately go like, hey, I'm a big fan of you guys. I just walked in and they treated like Jake apparently had seen me multiple times with the Come Town guys. And
Oh, wow.
Dan had watched the special. So immediately they acted like they were happy I was there. So I kind of acted like, you're lucky I'm here. And the interview, like I just never revealed my fanboy
Right.
side of me for them. And but they talked to me so much about the meth addiction, and it is part of my growth. And Travis and I have talked about this, where it's like, it was a little weird. And if you guys want to talk about it, I don't mind. And that's the point of it. Is like I was talking to a friend about it recently. I was like, I hope to have a long career. I think the special's great. Please check it out. But it's up to me to grow to a place where that's not what people want to talk about. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I talked about it on the special. I was very open about it and honest. So if that's what people want to talk about, that's cool. And I hope whenever I do the second one, I grow to a place where that's the least interesting thing that's going on.
Yeah.
If that makes
Right.
sense.
So you want to keep making the point of what people see you as. Like at this point, it's funnier and people are going to be more notice you more if you're the meth head. But now it's time to work from that.
Well, yeah. Because I'm a dad.
Yeah, you're something
I'm a
completely
father.
different than
I'm
you
clean.
were.
I'm a father. But, to move forward, oftentimes we have to reflect and think about the past. And we have to deal with it in a certain way. And that was, I think as an artist, whatever medium I'm working in, it is what you present. You present the self.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times it's a reflection. It's not who you are at the moment. It's hard to reflect on who you are at the moment.
Yeah, it's based on like 50% who I was and where I've come from that. Like, because I used to be a booze bag. I was blackout drunk 5 nights a week at least in college. Shout out to all my professors. I was drunk at every single test. You didn't figure it out. Fuck you.
Did you graduate?
Yeah, I cheated.
Wouldn't that be great if he was like, no?
Yeah.
No,
if you're boozing right now really hard, you're gonna graduate.
Yeah,
remember that.
You can do great things as long as you cheat. So like mine was weird though. So COVID happened my junior and senior year of college. So I just got to be at home every single day in class.
Yeah.
And that was pretty easy. I also had a decent job that I was still able to go work during. I worked at a car wash. So I made decent money for a 19-year-old kid and was able to leave and not lose my fucking mind.
Damn, how old are you?
I'm 23.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's confusing because he's so tall.
Yeah.
Both of the guys here, by the way, are very
beard.
tall. I don't know. You can't see
yeah.
that on the podcast.
No, I'm just also gonna die soon. Like I'm aging rapidly.
Yeah. No,
tall-
you look
tall-
good. You look good.
Tall people don't live as long either.
Someone
really?
brought that up
It's
to me
like-
the other
it's
day.
like
Oh, that makes me feel better.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's like
Sometimes
the
I
bigger
just walk into a
dogs.
room and a guy's tall, and I'm like, "What do you think? You're better than me?" It's fucking like I didn't choose this height. You know?
Yeah.
No,
Like,
it's that same thing as you never see a big old man. It's just small, frail old
That's
men.
right, man.
yeah.
You're gonna last forever.
Yeah, I think I am. People tell me I look young recently, and I'm like, it's all the meth and smoking and booze.
I wouldn't have thought you were 38, especially
39.
with 39 with
Yeah, I'm
knowing
pushing
your
40.
past. You've
Yeah.
come back from that, and you look. I mean, late 30s, but not almost 40. You look 35.
That felt insulting. by the way.
Great. Now he
I've
works
got my
out a lot.
I've got my cardigan on, but I'm in great shape. I just want to be clear.
I was gonna
about
say,
that.
as soon as you leave
Yeah.
here, you're gonna hit the gym.
Yeah, no, I already went this morning. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
This guy works out. I can tell this guy works out.
Oh yeah, I've got to. I
Where
used to
do
be
you
a
work?
fat kid.
Yeah, same,
Yeah.
very fat
Really?
kid. Yeah, real
Okay.
fat kid. Yeah.
What was your biggest?
I never weighed myself. I was terrified
Smart.
to weigh myself, and I didn't weigh myself during the weight loss either. But when I got off drugs, God, I blew up. I fucking blew up real hard.
So that makes sense because when I got off booze, I stuck to sugar so hard.
Yeah.
Just because
Something's got to fill the gap. Like something has to fill the space.
that and like from what I heard is alcohol is a sugar.
Yeah.
You drink all that sugar and that after that point it's still craving that.
Uh-huh.
So you have to stick to something and mine was fucking chocolate cake. So I got tits again for a little bit after
Yeah.
quitting
Yeah.
and then coming
same.
back. But I think I got the last number I saw before not looking at a scale for a few months after that and getting bigger was 275.
Yeah.
And that was tough.
So you were knocking on the door of 300.
Knocking 300, and I was not a good
And
football
what are you,
player.
6'2", 6'3"?
Probably 2 at this point.
Yeah.
I fucked up my back, and then I
Shrunk a little.
shrunk a little.
Yeah.
See, I was the same way. I never weighed myself, but there was a point where like you go to the mall, and if you just go to like H&M, like the pants go up to 40.
Oh.
And once you're like, these are tight, and then basically that's the mall going like, hey, if you get bigger than this, you can't come here anymore.
Yeah. Go
There's
find a
nothing
big and
here
tall.
for you. There's nothing here at the mall for you. So
No.
it's like I'd hit a treadmill if I was you, but not the mall. So
You
yeah,
better
one-
go find a fitness connection, not
when,
a fucking
when
big and
40
tall.
when 40 was feeling tight, I was like, it's time to
Yeah.
turn this ship around.
I remember I hit a 44 in
Oh,
a
really?
waist. Yeah, I was a lava lamp. It was ridiculous.
Jesus Christ, I can't imagine you at a 44.
Yeah.
Where are you at now? You're in great shape.
Thank you. I bounce back depending on the brand kind of thing, but it's
Yeah.
like around 33.
Okay,
So I have to go to like the
32,
specialty.
30,
Yeah.
yeah. But from 40, hey, cheers.
Dude, yeah.
From 40 to a 32.
I'm not going to cheers because I'm jealous.
See, but
I am too.
you've got dad bod. You've got what everyone wants
you
now.
say that like that's a compliment. He's
It
like,
is
you
a
got dad
compliment.
bod.
But he runs marathons.
You run marathons?
I can't run a marathon. He runs
I
marathons.
got tired just now from hearing you run marathons.
But that's what's frustrating is you can run very, very long distances, and it does not, equal to weight loss at all.
that is such a bitch.
It is,
like,
Travis. What are you eating? What are you
I don't know.
doing? What are you doing at night?
I don't know.
That's the problem. Is it's at
Yeah.
night. I eat from 11:30
Sometimes I think
to
he's lying.
midnight.
I love it. Sometimes I think he's like, I ran 25 miles today. I'm like,
He's one of those
Did
dudes
you?
that starts, gets in a car, and then
Yeah.
drives to the finish line and hops out.
It's have you ever watched a marathon?
No.
Have you ever watched one?
who's
Y'all need to just
watching marathons?
I don't. Maybe you had a fucking relative or something. I don't know. But when I go run them, there's people lining the sides of it, right?
Right.
So it's
Okay,
like a party
right.
for people.
Yeah.
If you go watch one, you will be shocked. That was the most eye-opening thing. When I did the first one, there's another comic in the scene, Michael Pasvar. He was wanting to do one.
Juicy Jogger.
Juicy Joggers. So we started the Juicy Joggers. We all had dad bods, and he wanted to finish it, and then I kind of hopped on like 3 months out, and I was like, let's fucking do it, right?
Hell yeah.
And you see like 80-year-old people, okay, that's a little bit, 75-year-old people, right? Who are fatter than you are somehow finishing faster than you. And you can't fucking explain it. And then you start realizing they're mentally tougher than you are, that you're just weak in the mind, and that this person has had a job they've hated or a wife who cheated on them. Like they knew how to get through some kind of real pain that I haven't experienced.
These people know how to keep going through the blisters on the balls of their feet and their chapped nips.
Yeah.
Did you have anything like that? Like chapped nipples or like pee yourself while running?
Luckily, because I'm married, I was able to take like pasties from my wife.
Oh, is that a thing?
That's
is that
a thing. Yeah. It's
because I'm a
real
big
thing.
nipple play guy, so I know my nipples are sensitive.
Yeah, so
But
if you start doing long runs, you better cover those nips.
Yeah, you got to
and if you want me to
Vaseline.
come, you better play with those nips. You know, I mean,
just fucking yank on them.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that was a thing. I mean, I saw that one episode of The Office, but I didn't know that was.
I thought the episode of The Office was exaggerating, but then
Yeah.
when you go look up like real pictures of real people, full on bleeding through the shirts. The other thing
Really?
the other thing that I thought was just like a urban legend or whatever was the amount of people who pissed their pants during a marathon.
Yeah.
And I don't mean competitive runners.
Have you guys ever peed the bed as an adult?
Yes. Yeah, blackout drunk. That was
Oh,
that was
really?
the biggest thing for having to stop is I need to stop peeing my fucking bed. I'm 19 years old. What the fuck is going on?
19's fine. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, but you can only use I spilled my nightcap beer in my bed so
Yeah.
many times.
I was 38. I pissed in my bed at 38.
Was this sober or was this?
No, I was drinking. My
it was-
grandmother died. I think it was just trauma.
Yeah.
If it makes
Like
you
I
feel
never
any-
pissed a dead. Like
But I mean, you
I
had gotten
drink-
clean from drugs at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah. I drink and I don't piss the bed, but I woke up and I was so confused. I was like, "What? Did I spill a glass of water?"
Hey, was it
And I
really
finally-
hot last
finally,
night?
It took me a while to find like, and I was like, "Oh, now I fucking pissed the bed." You know what I mean? Which is a great way to remember your dead grandmother that you love more than anything in the world.
If it makes you feel any better, I shit my pants 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really? I've
Yeah.
never shit my pants, but I'm pretty
What?
You made it
constipated
sound like
almost
you
always.
got your life together, and then you follow up with "I
Yeah.
shit my pants."
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
it was a weird scene. That front door was wide open. There was an old couple right as it happened walking by, and they could see me through the glass door, and I just sneezed.
You were in your house.
I was in my house, like I was standing right by the front door, so not 7 feet from the bathroom, and I just sneezed, and a little came out, and they saw it, and they saw the fear in my eyes, and I go, "How's it going?"
You know,
I just didn't know what to say.
You're 39. I'm 38. But I don't run into that problem.
No,
yet
me
of-
either.
And so
Me
it makes
either.
me feel better that you're going to age worse than us.
Oh, dude.
probably.
I watched my dad sneeze last year and tear his shoulder. I'm fucked.
But if those old people realized you did that, that was a very very charity thing that you did, because like that old man was like, "I feel better now."
Yeah.
This
Oh,
young
you
man
too?
who's big and strong, and he did it too. You know?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened down there, but just one little, and nothing never happened again. I didn't even have like a tummy gurgle. It
Yeah.
just happened. I was like,
Yeah.
I feel great, and now I mean I feel better after a sneeze and a shit. But where did that come from?
Yeah, I've been close just from timing issues. Like I can drive to the next spot or whatever, but it's never accidentally happened.
Yeah,
like,
same.
In your own
same.
home, it felt like
Yeah.
I was so ashamed. Like
you just
not
have to
only,
walk to the bedroom,
yeah.
past the bathroom.
I told a friend, and like, "Did you clean everything?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
They were Walmart sweatpants and underwear. Throw them away, you dirty fuck.
yeah. I'm an open book. I'll be honest, and like, yeah, it's never happened to me.
I feel better now.
Yeah, it's never happened to me.
So another thing that you brought up earlier, you were talking about your come downs, but I wanted to talk about your come up from a come down. In that you brought up on Oddball History that one day when you were released from jail, it was the same day as Thanksgiving. Tony Romo throwing 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, which helped.
Can,
Really helped the vibe in the house. Like if you're getting out of jail, like please let Tony Romo throw 5 touchdowns.
that was so. Was this one of the things that got you clean? Like, was this arrest that?
No.
pusher?
I mean, that's whenever I'm 39 now. That was like 21. So we were
Okay.
just ramping up.
Gotcha.
I've gone through phases in my life, like the moon, where it's like, you know, I fucked up a lot when I was younger. I got arrested a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I once got popped. I once was in a high-speed police chase.
Really?
Yeah, got away, but the cop was
That's-
holding my driver's license. So, you know, they're going to get you eventually.
So he pulled you over, took the license, and then you
Was
ran?
it? Was it even a chase, or he was just like, I got this. And he can go.
I'd worked at a restaurant for 8 years, and I was going to move. I'd worked there for so long, and I was moving to Austin the next day. So they threw a party for me, like a going away party.
Right.
And I was driving home, and at the time, I'm wearing like a button up, like tucked in. And I had to pee so bad, I pulled into an alley just to take a piss in like a suburban neighborhood in Plano. And I get back in my car. Not the cop didn't pull up on me with dick out, but like I get back in the car and I'm pulling away, and this cop comes sliding down the alley, and he pulls me over. And I'd been popped twice. I've been arrested twice for possession of marijuana
Right.
at the time. And the cop was like, he's like, we've been having people still out of the alleys and the garages. And eventually he's like, get out of the car. And I was like, hey, I'm alone. It's like 9 o'clock at night. I'm wearing a button up. Like
I just
I'm,
had to pee.
yeah, I'm clearly not. Like, who's out robbing alleys by themselves in a button up and slacks?
We got the button-up bandit, guys. We got him.
But at the time, I knew that 2 possessions of marijuana, or I knew 3 possessions of marijuana was a felony.
Right.
I didn't know what driving away from a cop was. So I did some real good math, honestly, and I did some math, and I just and he's holding my driver's license, and I had an 8th just sitting right here, and he's telling me to get out of the car. So I just threw my Mazda 3 into drive. And I didn't think I was going to get away.
Right.
I just wanted to get far enough away to toss the drugs out of the car.
Right. You just
then,
so you have enough of a gap to where he can't see it. It's
Yeah.
dark outside. I just need like 50 yards.
And I figured they'd catch me, they'd beat the shit out of me, but it wouldn't be a felony.
Right.
You know, and but I mean, we end up in this high speed police chase. I end up like parking in a driveway once I get away, and I'm like hiding under a car. I can hear like a helicopter, and eventually I get back in my car and I drove to Dallas. And you don't forget that happened. Like you don't forget that happened.
Right.
But it was 2 or 3 years later when they sent me a letter in the mail that said I'd been indicted by a grand jury for evading arrest with a motorized vehicle.
No shit.
So I went and got a lawyer, which I paid him with drug money. I was just drug selling money. I wouldn't have had that money from just working at a restaurant. I was just drug dealing money. And I paid off a lawyer, and he got it dropped to a misdemeanor.
Really?
So at the end of the day, like, I mean, you can't get, if you get 3 strikes as a felony,
Yeah.
that's not, you don't get that dropped down.
Right. I wouldn't necessarily call it good math, but it was what we call good enough math.
Good enough
Good enough
math.
for carpentry work.
Yeah. And so, you know, they ended up getting it dropped down to a misdemeanor, so I don't have a felony on my record. My life
That's
would be
crazy.
very
So-
different if I just gotten out of the car.
Running was the right move.
Running was the right move.
Yeah.
Always run away from the cops.
Yeah.
can
I
I
can't
just-
recommend it enough.
Can I just say that, like, you know, I've worked with Lawrence now,
Yeah.
and so you feel like you really get to know someone, right?
And then he just drops a bombshell.
With Lawrence, the more I get to know him, the less I feel like I know him. You know what I'm saying? Is there's
Right.
just layer upon layer upon layer, and then you just think like, I thought I knew the worst, or I thought I knew all the little stories, and then I get sad because I feel like I don't know him at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Then I get a little happy because I'm like, well, he's gonna have a lot of material still.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I still have tons of places
In your
to
head, you're
go
marking
with.
shit down. You're like, all
I'm
right,
like,
this
we
is
might
Netflix
get to
special
film
number
another
2.
one soon. Yeah.
That's so funny. It's a crazy that I never got caught with something like speeding, because when I was younger, I had a nicer car that I split with my parents to buy it. So I got a nicer car, and what I would do when I was really stressed out at night, I was an insomniac, and at like 3 o'clock in the morning, I get on the highway of 35 going towards Denton, and I just ghost it.
Yeah,
I turn off all the lights, and I just fucking rip it all the way down.
What'd you get out of that? What'd you feel like you got out of just adrenaline?
Kind
Were
of
you
the-
angry? Was it a
Oh,
fun thing?
yeah.
You were
It was,
angry.
okay,
Okay, yeah, I get angry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
one of those things where going 95 with the windows down, that's where the most still I was. Like, that
Yeah.
was where my head, like, kind of calmed down. There were a couple times where I've done that, and then I got tired, and so I just pulled off into a little, like, Walmart and just took a nap in the car.
What was the car?
So me and my parents had bought and found me a Dodge Challenger. So
Okay. I love those.
it was-
Of course,
I love
of course it was.
I
a
love
Dodge
muscle
Challenger.
cars. I love muscle cars.
I love muscle cars, and to me, it felt like the last modern car that was still looking like a muscle car. A
68
Camaro,
Camaro is my favorite. 68 Camaro is
so
my favorite.
clean. I
Yeah.
was always
I'm not even a car
huge-
guy, but I fucking love a 68 Camaro.
A 68 Camaro. The 68 Camaro was one specific one from TV shows, but I can't remember.
Like
But
the 67 skinny, the 69 is long, the 68 looks like a pit bull.
oh, just short and stocky, just perfect.
Yeah. It's just fucking. It's the perfect height, perfect length, perfect width.
Despite the flag on the top of the car, I was always a big 69 Charger because of we'd grow up going to church with my buddies watching the Dukes of Hazzard in the back seat. He had the big TVs in the back seat, and we just watched that every single day and didn't have any sort of a semblance for the car, but I just wanted to jump it.
Yeah.
What's wrong with the flag, though? I'm just joking.
You were watching me trying to like, okay, how do I backtrack
Yeah.
this?
Well, also, I'm that age where that could go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heritage, not hate. And we're like, shut
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. I'm so
You have
glad
a
there
prob-
wasn't an explanation there.
You have a problem with history? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. No, that's the only stance you can take is fuck history. All of it is bad. And yeah. But no, it's like, there was definitely, I've been arrested, I like to call it 1.5 times, because the second time I didn't get taken to jail. I was taken to the hospital instead. But there were so many more things they should have caught me on. Like, everyone in the city of Stephenville really needs to step up their game.
Well, no, I was the same way. Like I got arrested more times than I can remember as a youth. But every time I got popped, I'd get popped for like a gram, or I'd get popped for like less than an ounce.
Right.
And I was a drug dealer back then. my younger days. So it's like anytime I got popped for like a gram, I'm like, you could have got me yesterday with a pound. So it was like there was like some, but I grew up in such a, and I thought about, I mean, I had the awareness and wisdom of this even when I was younger. I remember the first time I got arrested, I remember thinking like in my head as I was being handcuffed, I remember thinking like, well, it's about time. Like that, like everybody I knew had been arrested,
right?
So it just didn't seem like
you just been living on borrowed time at this point.
Yeah, and it's like, and I've learned that a lot about life as I've gotten older. Like it's about setting expectation. Like it's about mindset. It's about like you're a kid and you should not be living your life with the idea that like, well, I'm getting arrested. It's about time.
Right.
Like that's not. It's not about It's about what the expectation is for your life.
Yeah, you gotta switch your own expectation. That makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because if you're sitting there thinking like I'm gonna get arrested, it's like that manifestation shit. If you're already thinking I'm gonna get arrested, there's gonna be a time where you go, well, I'm already gonna get arrested. Why not buy this gun or this fucking a pound and sell that?
Well, I've always said it with kids as I was a kid. It's like if you get treated every day when you're a kid like you're a piece of shit or like you are a shoplifter or you are somebody who would sell drugs. So when the opportunity comes around and somebody's like, hey, do you want to steal this or do you want to sell some drugs?
Yeah.
It's very easy for you to fall into the narrative like, well, everybody treats me like that's what I do.
Exactly. I'm already a thief in everyone's mindset. Why not actually do it?
And I think we do that to ethnic kids in this country like all the time. Like they get treated like, if you just walk into a convenience store and the clerk's always looking at you like you're about to steal something, even though it's a very subtle thing, 10 years later, it's like it's just easier for you to fulfill the destiny that everybody else has kind of laid out for you with their eyes.
Right. So that was one thing. So when I went to college, I majored in criminal justice because at the time I wanted to go to homicide detective work. And doing all of that is what first opened my eyes to what you just said, in that the whole time I kind of thought that people might have just been saying that the police system was just systematically racist.
Yeah.
And I was too young to ever know, so I didn't take anything to it. So I was just coming in like, it might be, it might not. I'm dumb. That's how that works. And then I got there and it was just 180 flip because I was also in college in all of my major specific classes during the George Floyd epidemic. So that was the first time I ever actually it felt like someone punched me in the gut in that, yeah, stupid, this shit's fucked.
Yeah. The criminal justice system, I mean, it's very clear that it's not here to help anybody. If you've ever been through the system, and I'm very wary of the system, it's like, I mean, I've had lawyers because I was on papers from the time I was like 18, and by papers I mean probation. I was on papers from the time I was like 18 to like 26 or 7. And I remember I had a lawyer. I went through probation twice. I had to go back through. I was in an outpatient rehab when I was like 20, and I punched somebody in the face on the last day, and they made me do it all over again. But I even had a lawyer, it's a very well-to-do guy, and he goes, well, you've made it through probation twice, and it's not there for you to succeed, so you'll probably do okay on this third case because you've actually succeeded twice. And the lawyer, I mean, just the way he talked, even as a young kid, he was very observant and very wary. I mean, observance comes from wariness.
Right.
And the way he talked, I remember thinking like, yeah, man, this whole system. I remember I had to whenever I was like 21, I had to wake up every morning and call a number, and a machine would let me know. It would either say yes or no. And if it said yes, I had till noon to get to McKinney to take a drug test. And I was very lucky that I worked at this restaurant for 8 years where my manager was very supportive and she knew I was a good person.
Right.
So she would if they said yes, she'd go yeah, just go do it and then get back to work. But if I was somebody else who didn't have a car, who didn't have a job that supported me because they already knew who I was.
All the way to McKinney from what I'm guessing is Dallas?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 45-minute drive. That's fucking ridiculous.
I would have been arrested again because I did not fulfill my obligations. So clearly the system is not there for you to succeed. It's not at all there for you to succeed.
It's just all there so they can make some money. Otherwise, we'd have free healthcare like what we were talking about earlier in the system. We're like one of how many countries that doesn't have universal healthcare that's actually in the first world too.
No, it's all marketing. This country is a fucking shithole, and the marketing is so good around it. We haven't won a war since World War II, and we act like we have.
Right.
We act like we have.
When you were getting arrested, because I've thought about this, right? Because the smartest thing to do if you ever get arrested, I don't have a lot of experience, is just be quiet, right? If you were guilty, it's just keep your mouth shut, get a lawyer, right? When you were getting lawyers, did you have a lawyer or did you do court-appointed lawyers?
I mean, I had court-appointed lawyers. I had a thing one time when I was in McKinney, where they had they kept moving the court date back. And I remember I showed up one time and I didn't have my lawyer there. And like, we got to sign these papers. And this is when I was about to get arrested. And I said, I'm not signing these papers. I don't have a lawyer. And the bailiffs dragged me into the hallway. And were like, you're either going to jail right now for as long as it takes, or you can sign these papers. And I was like 19 at the time. And like, I still get like, I still treat the world, I still treat people like they're doing that to me. And there's a lot of anger in me about it. But
when
like,
you got that court-appointed lawyer, did you feel like you've got a lawyer that's going to help, or were you still weary like this guy's about to fuck
I cussed
me?
I told a court. Yeah, I've cussed out court-appointed lawyers several times when I was like 20, 21.
Because I mean, all those dudes are young dudes doing pro bono work, trying to get with some firm.
So they're just climbing the ladder. That's usually what that is.
And it's busy work.
I was getting popped for being like a 19, 20-year-old dude that was smoking weed. And the time I could finally, this is America, by the time I could find a lawyer and pay a lawyer that could actually get me off of something that was very serious, I was paying him with money I made from selling drugs. And that's the only reason I could afford him.
Yeah.
That's America.
Yeah, there were a couple times, like, it's crazy how many people in this country have to look to some shady shit like that to make it by.
Yeah.
Like, I remember if I wasn't working during COVID, I wasn't allowed to get the stipend that everyone was getting from COVID because I was too young. And if I didn't have my job to where I could allegedly steal tips off the top from the people I didn't like working with, I'd be fucked. I would have been so screwed. I mean, going to HEB to get $400 every 2 weeks felt like I was making big boy cash. Like, that was a huge deal to me.
But I think that's all perspective. It's like I'm at a place now in my life. Like, I've gone through. I've been in the gutter. I've been out of the gutter. I've been up top. I've been down low. But like, I have a very healthy mindset about being like, I'm lucky to be where I'm at in life. Like, my son's okay. I got a special out. You know,
it looks incredible. It's got 14,000 views, which that Blake brought that up to me. I was just watching it in the living room this morning, and he's like, "Oh my God, it's got 14,000," and I hadn't even noticed at that point. That's incredible. That's amazing.
With no negative comments, right? Yeah,
nothing yet. And honestly,
I don't read them. I don't
know. I'll every now and then I'll screenshot him a comment because I like checking them all. You know, I want to see. I
don't look at them at it.
Yeah, you know, because I expect there to be a certain amount of shit talk, and honestly, that's kind of what bothers me is I don't think you've made it until you've got some shit talk on the comments.
I think about you saying that all the time,
right?
Yeah.
When it's all positive, you're like, we got a lot of room to grow here.
Yeah, something's wrong. I had one, and I still don't know to this day if it was negative or not. I think he must be from somewhere in Asia because the way it was translated out, I still cannot figure out if he was talking shit or being nice.
And see, and that's why I don't read them, because I don't want to walk around all day. I've got other things to do. I don't want to walk around all day trying to decipher if somebody was like being good or being a piece of shit.
Right. Were you being a piece of shit, and do I have to say something, or are you being nice? Am I about to be an asshole?
But I know that like Ralph Barbosa retweeted it or shared it. Mark Norman shared it. Ian Laura shared it. Like, we had some of the biggest names like reshare the special, so that's really
incredible.
Helps.
There's so much luck involved with it too, right?
Yeah, it's
like
just timing.
How many funny people do you see that put something out, and then you're still just at the mercy of the algorithm, right?
Yes.
And that's kind of what we talked about beforehand, because both of us, with I'm a fan of and with his comedy, you know, we had both kind of talked about this is going to be a tool for both of us,
right?
You know, this is hopefully going to help both of us grow a little bit in terms of, you know, our popularity and get people to know about us. And then, you know, you do everything that you feel is right to do. And then once it's time to actually put it out there, you know, you're just thinking, fuck, you know, because I think
so nervous.
I think the night it came out, like the night we put it out, that was a Saturday or Friday. I can't remember now. Anyway, it was one of those. I think it was Saturday. Yeah. And, you know, we had a little release party. We were trying to have friends out and kind of hype it up a little bit.
Right.
And I think it might have been like that night or the next day. I was like, hey, man, we're already up to like 300 views, you know? And I'll never forget. He's like, is that good? Like, I don't know. I genuinely don't know if that's good.
Right.
And in my mind, I was thinking, we're in no man's land. We don't know if people are going to like us like this. Mm-hmm. And then it was literally like a day later, all of a sudden it's in the low thousands. And we were like, fuck, okay, something about that algorithm. I don't know what happened. People just started watching it.
Yeah, and it's something about overnight, too. Like, as soon as you go to bed, that's when we get all of our views.
I don't know. We were just thankful that the streams were climbing, right? Because you know how it is. I mean, you guys work on this. Like, you can put so much effort into something, and there's still so much of it that's out of your control.
Right.
You know?
And it's always the one that you think that's gonna pop that doesn't, and the one that you think, like, oh, this is a piece of shit that catches your most views. Like, I think we just now hit over 100 views on one of our videos about a month back now, and ever since then the algorithm has been good to us, thankfully. But before that, it was just like I was sitting there like, are we shadow banned or do I fucking suck? What's going on?
Well, and now we're so lucky. Excuse me. Now that it's about to cross 15,000 views, now it's almost like it's kind of just rolling on its own.
Right.
Right. Now the gods of the algorithm just reward you, and they're like, I guess people like this. We'll keep cramming it in people's feed.
Exactly.
And then that's when you get lucky, and you're like, okay, well, thankfully Lawrence is a funny stand-up. So when they do discover it, they're happy they watched it. But yeah, you have no control. It's like the way you promote it now online almost doesn't even matter. It's still going to come down to a roll of the dice unless you already have a huge fan base built.
Right.
And because we had talked about that way early on before he recorded, and we were just saying like, make sure like if I do get to work with people, I try to tell them like, make sure you love it because it could bomb. Nobody could watch it, and it doesn't do anything for you, and you want to go to bed happy with it still. And if you try to mold it to what you think people are going to love, and then it still bombs, well, now you hate it on two levels.
Yep.
You know, and at least if no one sees it but you love it, there's kind of a win there.
Right.
And then we just got lucky, and people started watching it.
Is this what you want to do? Do you want to become like, if you've heard of him, the next 800-pound gorilla, the dude putting out the Dallas guys?
So that was. I think I even said 800
Yeah,
pound gorilla.
yeah.
Right?
We referenced that. As soon as you said
first
that,
of
we
all,
referenced that.
you know, I think Don't Tell Comedy does a really great job.
Right.
And I think 800 pound gorilla does a good job, but they're two different styles. I think both of them look the best right now in terms of just if you're visually looking at it, right? Whereas Don't Tell, because I believe they're more California based, right?
I think so,
I
but I
can't
also
remember. I may
didn't
be
even
wrong. I don't know.
remember
They
that.
don't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't tell.
No
but
idea.
they their stuff looks great. Like they've got these sweeping panning shots. It all looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But theirs I've noticed were very like the stage is really bright. It looks really good. Like one of my favorite ones from there is Catherine Blanford. She's got a great one on there, but it looks very polished. The 800 pound gorilla stuff, what I love is it seems a little tailored to the comic. So it seems like you get these more intimate shots. Maybe it's a little darker, like you're in a more specific room.
Right.
And then the one I would go to the most was Kyle Kinane has a special called Shocks and Struts.
Yeah, I watched that a couple months ago.
I love the way that's shot. Like if I could afford nicer cameras, that's what I was going for. Was I loved how tight they were on his face all the time.
Right.
Because I feel like there's so much to offer. And there's other bigger companies that have very beautiful high-end production specials. But I feel like the further those cameras get away from the stage, you lose a little bit, right? Like you were just talking about watching Tom Segura at American Airlines.
Right.
It's not that it's bad, but if you could watch Tom Segura at the Addison Improv.
Oh, with the 200-room seater where I'm bumping elbows with someone, not because the chairs are too small?
You see the nuance of his body movement, of his facial movement, those little bitty things that you can do to control that crowd better. I loved that more. That's just what I resonated more with. And it's just different styles, right?
Right.
And so
Dry Bar used to be kind of like that in that they were kind of pitched out a little bit. And I'm like, I love Dry Bar, but this doesn't look as good as, like you said, with the 800-pound gorilla where it's specialized.
Somebody just explained to me that Dry Bar has like a real religious background or something. That's part of the reason it has the clean comedy.
Really?
Because I always
It's like a Salt Lake City kind of.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I do notice they always do something in Utah, but
to me, their stuff always looks like you're filming a high production church service.
Yeah.
It looks good. There's nothing wrong with it, and for a lot of comics, it looks great that way. It's just not what I like.
My grandma watched those. You know. So
okay,
it's
that's
like,
a great.
yeah, it's
But,
perfect for late night when you're an insomniac on Facebook and you're going through reels.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to answer your first question, I mean, yeah, that was the motivation with Lawrence. Is it was so weird, man. Sometimes the universe just lines up because I told my wife, I was like, I have this equipment, I have a little bit of knowledge. Most of my background is in audio, but I feel like I'm a fast learner and we can pick up on video. And
Right.
in my experience, I have a background in music and I played in bands and stuff. It's like, artists are artists. They don't want to deal with this stuff. They don't want to think about it. And then a lot of artists don't have money to do these things. They can't buy equipment. That's the biggest right now with YouTube and all these social media platforms. You can put things out, but you still have to go through the grind of getting equipment. You guys know better than anybody here.
Yeah, that was fucking week 5 through week 12 for us, really, was getting the right setup with the right equipment.
Nothing's cheap. Nothing's easy.
You start out with
always
iPhones.
more than you think.
Yep.
And so that's when I realized, like, I think I have the ability where I could maybe record something for somebody. But then you run into the issue of trust, right? Like, they don't know you. They don't know your intentions. And maybe you can speak to it. I'm sure there's a lot of people that come in and out of this comedy game that are going to, like, help you out with something and it ends up being a little shady.
Yeah, like gig sharing type of feeling.
It just feels like somebody's always trying to rip people off. And so you're worried you're going to be viewed that way. And so I was talking to my wife about like some of the people I would love to work with. And then shortly after that, Lawrence came on the podcast and was like, hey, I'm thinking about recording something. And Lawrence was one of the people my wife and I talked about, like, man, that'd be great if we could work with him.
Yeah.
You know, because we had seen him several times. My preference for comedy, you know, I like an honesty to it.
Mm-hmm.
I like to know that what you're selling me is really you or very close to you. Because I
Yeah.
know a lot of it's exaggerated for the joke. That's fine. You
But
know,
there's
not you
something-
specifically, just comedy in general.
There's something to those comics that you can tell, like, this is still very funny, but everything's made up, like an Anthony Jeselnik.
Yeah.
His joke writing
yeah.
is incredible, but you can always kind of tell, you're like, obviously, he did not hit his girlfriend right now. This is just a joke.
Yeah.
Well, and at least even with him, he clearly, from the moment you sit down, you know that's what it is. There's no deception even, right? And so once he approached me, I was like, okay, here's the, I wanted it. I was talking about doing it. Here's a person who wants it. It felt like we were in a similar thing, so let's go. But that's where my mind's at now. I feel like we have a lot of talent out of DFW
Mhm.
as a whole. I tend to focus more on Dallas comics just because that's where I live and those are the clubs I can get to.
Right.
But I get out as often as I can, and the talent pool here, there's a lot. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe you can attest to it. I feel like we're at this zone where we've got a good group of veterans that have been doing it for a while. Then we got a good middle section of people, and then we have all these newcomers who come in, and we just need a little bit of balance, and it's going to grow into this really
I feel like,
this thing that's maybe bigger than what we realize it could be.
yeah.
Like I feel like we've been holding at this plateau for a while as DFW,
Yeah.
and we just need a few things to push it. And so that's kind of where the filming came from. It's like, I'm hoping I can play my little small part. If I'm a fan of, could become similar to Don't Tell,
Right.
800-pound gorilla for this region,
Mhm.
that would be incredible.
That'd be
you
great.
know?
And like, I feel like the biggest thing holding us back is we don't have walkable clubs. Like, you hear about
Yeah.
New York's comedy clubs, and you're like, I can do 5 spots, and it's a 15-minute total walking trip.
Yeah.
I can do all these spots. Whereas here in Dallas, you can do like 1 spot a night, and then maybe go find an open mic.
And so are you do comedy?
Yeah, I do comedy. I'm still open mic
He's
level.
been doing
just
it for 12 years.
yeah.
No, and but I feel like it's like comedy is like this weird self-cleaning echoes. And before I move on to that, like what Travis was talking about, it was but before I forget, like, you know, like I'd done Travis's podcast, and Travis is like, it's a very, and you guys are great too, like but Travis has like this very like clean, very professional way of doing things. And
Right.
we had taped some things together before at DCC. And so whenever I went on his show and like we talked about it, and I was so ready to record something, it was like, I'm very trusting of him. Like I'm a very, when it comes to my art, I can be a very, I don't want anybody to touch anything,
Mhm.
you know?
That's
and
kind of what we do with Blake, is that I have my vision, he has his, and then usually they just both coincide, thankfully.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not pushing him on his shit, he's not pushing me on my shit.
But I'll text Travis because we do clips, and I'm like, so what clip do you want to do next week? And he lets me know, and I'm always like, whenever it comes across and I get it on my phone, I'm like, no, it's perfect.
Yep.
Exactly
You
what
nailed
I
it.
wanted.
Yep. That's awesome.
So it's been like this really good synergy and symbiotic relationship. But like with comedy in Dallas, like it's this weird self-cleaning ecosystem where it is so difficult and it's hard, but it removes those who don't want to be there.
Right. The ones that are doing it off of, like, they're watching TikTokers now.
Yeah, because dude, I can't, like, you know, Mark Norman sharing the special, Ralph sharing the special, all these people are sharing the special. I've been in the city for almost 9 years now doing this. So whatever shitty situation it is that night for the comedy,
Right.
I did it 100 times.
You
did it
got your
100
1,000
times.
hours or 10,000 hours.
Yeah, and I didn't get them, like, they weren't all great. They weren't all me having a sold out room with everybody there to see that. I mean,
You've got to do those shitty and, for lack of better terms, laundromat shows. Like,
Yeah.
I've never done a comedy show in a laundromat, but some of the places I've done it in, they might as well have been. It was dog shit.
You can look it up on just Google my name and Dallas Observer, me getting my ass beat almost at hat tricks, being attacked on stage, and it's an open mic.
Right.
Having shoes thrown at me. Like, I went through, and then I spent 6 years on the road performing in places people would not choose to live.
Mhm.
You know, I'm in Wichita, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, New Mexico. And I love all those clubs and I love all those cities, but it was like, it wasn't glamorous.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it wasn't glamorous. Like, whenever you're an MC on the road, you're showing up to you're driving up to Wichita to do 6 shows, getting paid like $200.
Yeah.
You know, sleeping in a house that 100 dudes in a bed where 100 dudes have beat off. You know what I mean? And
That's
you're
exactly
and you're
where my head.
and
As soon as you
you're
said
and
100
you're
dudes.
and you're 101. You're 101. It's a lonely ride. You know what I mean? It's not like you're just sleeping there. Like you're now part of the unit.
Right.
But it's like, and I'm not saying you're doing that, but sometimes whenever I hear like newer comics like talk about how hard it is, it's like, yeah, it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's work still. Like it's still
Yeah.
a job.
It is still a job, and it is weird. Like even whenever I see my kid, like I'm going to backdoor comedy, I'm like, hey, I'm going to work. I'm leaving. I'm gonna head out, go to work, and I feel this thing in my heart. I'm like, well, am I getting paid? You know what I mean? But it is work, and it's weird though. But then whenever you go get paid good money to do 30 minutes and you make $800, they're like, oh, well, you only did 30 minutes. It's like, no, I did 9 years.
Yeah.
I did 9 years.
Just for this one moment. I mean, I'm doing
Yeah.
it for all the moments, but all those 9 years were for this one moment, and then tomorrow's one moment. It's like I grew up playing football, and we always heard the term going 1-0 every single week. Like there was never a season where we were trying to go 17-0 because
Yeah.
we'd fuck that up. Like if you're playing for the last game, you already lost the first one.
Yeah.
And that was another thing starting out. That, like when I got to Dallas, I'd always heard you're like, this is a way better scene than everyone thought or thinks. Like
I think it's the best. I think it's the biggest secret comedy in the country.
exactly. I've heard people try and say San Antonio, and I don't know anything about that, but Dallas is up there in that
You can't argue with the number of clubs.
right.
The number of clubs is, to me, it doesn't matter. Like whatever the scene does, that's up to us. But the opportunity is here, regardless of everything.
I mean, it could be one of those places where everything is marketed perfectly. You have a sold out show every weekend, but everyone comes in pissed off. Like you got to bring the comedy vibe with you, no matter how many people are in the showroom.
Yeah.
I think what I've learned from just doing the podcast, because that what you just talked about is one of my biggest questions constantly, is okay, if we have these clubs, if we have these comics, if we have these things, why is it not considered in the same lane as an LA or a New York?
Right.
What's the different thing? And
I kind of love that though. Like if it was Austin and like all of a sudden we just had 300 open micers just swarming us like
Yeah.
locusts.
not necessarily the open micers, but like just think of the killers that have come off those coasts, right?
Yeah.
And they have like their groups of classes that they came out of, right? That they were all together with, and they were huge. And it's like, so what's the difference, right? Because talking about putting 9 years in, that's kind of something I've just learned. Is it's weird to think that he's 9 years in, so really like he's kind of just starting his career now.
Yeah, I
Right?
heard
And that-
someone recently say how many years you've been in the game is how old you are. And
Okay.
like, that's how you have to think. So Lawrence is 9 years old.
You know, 'cause,
I'm
like,
18 months old.
Nate Bargatze blew up, right?
Right.
So it's like, wow, this overnight success, Nate Bargatze, right? And it's like, I think he's been doing it 20 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
or however
yeah,
long.
yeah.
But it took him, it's like the 1 through 10 might have been really exciting because you felt like, here we go, we're ramping up. And it's like, what was 10 through 15 like for Nate Bargatze when you feel like you've been doing it a while?
Yeah.
You're not a household name, but you know you're super funny, right?
Yeah, I've earned this, but it's still like these
Yeah.
people don't realize that I've earned this.
And I think he's from, where's he from? I can't remember now.
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
New York.
So that's a similar area, in my opinion, with Dallas, which is we've got a lot of people here that have done far more than 10 years in comedy that are very funny. And they would tell me, like, we don't have infrastructure here. We don't have things to make a special, make whatever and help build you up. That's why people want to go to the coast.
right.
And I used to think, that's bullshit. You know, that's just people thinking they've got to go somewhere to do something. And that was kind of a huge lesson with filming his special, is I realized, like, wow, when I was finding, you know, the people to run the cameras at the club that night, because you can't do everything by yourself, right? You physically can't run the cameras. You physically can't do the sound and everything all at the same time. You realized, wow, okay, we don't have people who just film comedy specials that you can call up and go, I need 5 camera guys. We're doing an hour of comedy.
Yep.
Instead, we had to find people who know how to run cameras, but they're used to doing projects totally different than this.
Yeah.
So it was even a learning curve for them when I'm like, yeah, what I want to see is this and that. Here's how I'd like him on stage when we're viewing from this angle. Here's the kind of angle I want. Everybody was kind of learning, right?
Right.
And then that's when it dawned on me. It's like, okay, that might those veterans who gave me that advice, now I'm feeling like they are more accurate. Like we don't have this stuff here. And so that's kind of what I've been encouraging people who like the comedy scene to do. It's like, if you're not a comic, but you love comedy, maybe find a little pocket that you excel at and see how you can apply it. Because
Right.
I think we're going to be able to have, you know, several different, companies, for lack of a better word, like come up.
Yeah.
Like the guys out at Fillmore, Cowabunga. You know, I've had the pleasure of talking to Neos a few times, and they talk about some of their long-term goals. And I won't say that on here because it's their business. But
Right.
when you hear it, you're like, yes, please do
Keep
those
doing that
things.
shit.
And
Yeah.
it would be something that if you were an asshole, you'd go like, oh, that's in direct competition with what I want to do. But the reality is there's no competition. It's like anything they're doing is going to help what I'm trying to do and vice versa. So it's like we need, the more podcast of people that just enjoy this comedy scene and try to share it, the more things we can produce that are videos and stuff. I think that's what we're lacking. And I'm still learning. I could be wrong, but it feels that way.
That's what I was trying to say in the DMs I was sending you. Because at first we were trying to figure out if it was just going to be Lawrence and I or Lawrence and Travis. And either which way, whatever would have happened, I would have had a great time. But I told Travis that I want him to come on because if his podcast grows and my podcast grows, our podcasts grow and so does the scene. Like as soon as one of us finally takes off, we're going to start doing way better as a whole, like as a group.
And I might have been, what you're speaking about, I think I'm seeing the changes because, and I might be the prototype and I'm okay with that. But it's like the Cowabunga guys, okay, so let me say just, so after the special came out and it's doing great and all these people are promoting it and that's amazing. And we're so blessed and lucky that that's happening. But like last night I'm sitting there at the bar at Backdoor with Paul and Paul's like, hey, I kind of want to do like what you did. I'm going to like film it myself.
Is that Varghese?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to film it myself. And in my head, I was like, okay, good. But like Paul's somebody I look up to. But we made our move. And he had Helium film it. His last special, he had Helium film it. And they're a huge national chain.
Right.
And he goes, but I want to do what you guys are doing. Because, the Helium thing just never really popped. And then because of my special that we filmed, I was on with Dan McDowell and Jake, and they're interviewing me for 2 hours. And then Niaz and TV hit me up last week and go, hey, can you send me the contact for the producer for that show? Because we really want to go on and promote what we're doing. So do you understand? Like, we made the move.
That's nice to hear.
We did the thing.
Right.
And now the people that we're promoting, and even when I was getting interviewed by Dan and Jake, I promoted Cowabunga. I was like, they were talking about the local scene. I was like, you guys got to go check out Cowabunga. You guys got to go check out that scene. And then sitting right next to me is Alvin, and we started together. And next week, Alvin's going to film HBO Max in Kansas City. So
Alvin
it's like
Newsom?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
We started together. Like he's about a year ahead of me, but like we all started together. So it's like to see, like, I think we played a major part in getting this ball rolling, and we're at least showing the prototype. We're showing what's possible.
Right.
That's what I hope. I mean, because, it's like you want to list names, but you don't, even though I want to be complimentary, you don't want to accidentally be insulting.
Right.
But there are so many of these veteran comics in the scene where you're like, damn, you are better than a lot of the stuff I've seen out there that gets filmed and recorded, and you don't know what it was that didn't get them their shot, so to speak, right?
Right.
But I think there's time for all of them to still get their due.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any expiration date on comedy, and so it's like, if we do excite people a little bit, that's pretty cool to hear. And it's like, I don't need people to work with me. I just want you to have something good,
Right?
Because you deserve it.
But when people say the infrastructure's not here, we're all missing. Look at Ralph Barbosa.
Yeah.
He's living on a different planet now.
And
he was the first one to come out of here. Like, usually if you're
he was
here,
not
you
the
go...
first to come out of here. It was Justin Foster. It was Dustin Ybarra. I'm watching Us by the guy that did Get Out.
When I would argue Paul Varghese was on that list too, because he was running around with Russell
Right, okay.
Peters and
who's
fluffy? I forget, is it Gabriel Iglesias?
Yeah. So, and Dustin Ybarra, was in Build a Zoo. He was in Us. He's in all these movies, and he's still having a great career out there. So it's like the infrastructure is here. It's about talent and presenting yourself in the right way. But I mean, we have different arguments about this. I mean, I have different arguments with other comics constantly about, like, I think the Dallas scene is great, but I don't care what city you go into, and I don't care if it's LA, I don't care if it's New York, I don't care if it's here or Tennessee or anywhere else. There's a lot of comics, and there's about 10 of them.
Yep.
I don't care where you are. There's a lot of comics in that city, and there's about 10 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
Because the number just keeps going down.
Yeah, but it depends on how big the scene is. But I don't, even if you're in LA, even if you're in New York, there's about 10 of them.
Yeah, it was funny to see, like, how much talent was actually being bred here in Dallas, because I got to go visit a friend out in L.A. just going to see him, and then while I was there, I decided to stop in at a couple open mics, and obviously it's just an open mic, but Jesus H. Christ, were these people terrible in L.A. open mics.
Of course, and in New York, they're terrible, because I don't care how big the city is, there's about 10 to 5 of them.
Right.
Like Joe Rogan and Cat Williams were talking the other day, and I got into a big argument with a comic the other night. Like, not a big argument. Like, we weren't really like having, like, we weren't mad at each other, but we were just had different opinions about this. He's like trying to, like, make the list longer, and I'm like, because we were just naming names about, like, who do we think are the best in the city. And to me, like, it goes about 10, and after that, it falls off a fucking cliff. But like Cat Williams and Joe Rogan were talking the other day, and Joe Rogan's like, it's cool, man. It's like professional comics. There's like 500 of us in the world. And like whenever they said that, I was like, okay, so that really plays to what I've been
to what you're
saying.
saying.
Yeah.
It's like baseball. Like I grew up playing baseball too, and my whole life I was like, I'm gonna be a third baseman for the Rangers. That was my whole life. And then I turned 10, and someone told me like, hey, you got like literally a 0.15% chance of making it to the MLB.
Yeah.
And then you go look at the numbers of comics, and it's even more stretched than that. It's probably 0.015% of you
Yeah.
going to be a professional comedian.
So there's people hitting it off the tee. There's people hitting slow balls, but the people that are hitting the fast pitches and knocking them out of major league parks, it's a very fucking small number.
Yeah.
So do you think then that 5, 10, whatever it is that's excelling, were those people just from the kick, they were doing what they needed to do, or did they just stick with it and outlast somebody? Like, were they rough around the edges and figured out the path? Because I'm curious, do you get that number up to 15 and 20 if you show people there are opportunities if you're working hard? Right?
To
Like,
me-
can I go like, hey, here's what I've done in the past. I feel like if you could get to this level, we could work on something. Or is that just going to be, not really worth the time? Because it's really coming down to that person becoming funny or not.
To me, it's both, right? I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people that are at Juilliard that were not prodigies when they first picked up their instrument.
Right.
They put in a lot of work, and they also happen to be talented, right? So it's the same thing with comedy. Like, you need the opportunities, and the opportunities are here. So those things are kind of crossing each other out, right? Like, oh, well, I need stage time. Well, there's 9 clubs in the city. And nobody here is not getting work because somebody's trying to fuck them. You know what I mean? Trying to get them not getting work. Like, it's here. The opportunity is here. And you're not raising up to the lowest hoop available to you. Like, if you're an open micer in the city and Hyenas is not booking you to be an MC, you are therefore not jumping through the lowest hoop available to you.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple math. And once you jump through that lowest hoop available to you, now you're working 2 clubs. And that is, every time I've seen it over the years, that automatically leads to you working other clubs. So now eventually a year later, you're working every club in the city as an MC. So now you're working 8 or 9 clubs.
How much material do you think the average person needs to get that lowest hoop going?
So they need to have,
I've heard 25 most recently.
it's going to be a bad 25 with a good 10 to 15, right? That's how it always works. But so I think whenever I speak about there being 10 of us in the city, I'm speaking from the place of you got to have 35 to 45.
Okay.
And if you're throwing 35 or 45 as the hoop for you to be in the 10, there's about 10.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean,
Because
just
me,
gonna be-
I'm at a place now, whenever I see somebody and they're new and they have a hot 5, I'm like, that's awesome. I'm so excited for you. Like, I hope that turns into 10.
yeah, but
I
how
hope
long
it
is it going to
turns
take you
into
to get
15.
to 10? Yeah.
But the other 10 of us are down the hall, and we're hoping you walk through the door. Like, I want to see you in this fucking room.
Right.
I want to see you in that fucking room.
But you got to earn it.
But you got about 25, 35 more minutes to go. And for you to have that other 35, it's the same thing. If that 25 is 15 and that 30 is 15, then that 45, you know what I mean? You got to have, like, when we filmed the hour, I did, I don't know, an hour 20, hour 15, and then we cut it down.
Right.
So you've got to have more than what you're actually getting booked for.
And the bigger part, that I was worried about, I feel like such a jerk because I'm not a comic. I don't want to be a comic in this scene, but I want to be involved with this stuff. And so I feel like I get the same education that people do in terms of like, oh, here's how open micer stuff works. Here's how being a MC in a feature, but I'm still learning a lot. Right. And then, but although you're kind of getting immersed in it, you're not part of it. So when I feel like I'm getting a grasp on it and I want to tell people like, here's what I think you should do. It's like my initial in the back of my head, I'm thinking while I'm talking, they're going, you're not a fucking comic, fuck off.
Right.
Right. But thankfully working with Lawrence, it's like we were able to have those conversations about, hey, we're burning this material, right? And he's like, yeah, I mean, if I'm somewhere where they don't know me, I might pull a thing out here or there. He's like, but no, I want to move past this. And my first question was, do you have something else right now? And he's like, yeah, I'm working on this amount right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, because, we had conversations about this is a tool. It's not put it out here and okay, great. Hopefully we get famous. It's like, if you put it out, you got to be doing something with it and you got to start doing more shows.
And if you put it out, you can't be content with it and just keep writing on that 45 you have. You have to write new shit.
Yeah.
You have to finally go to these open mics and figure out what of your 25 is 10.
Have you ever watched someone's recording and then you get hyped and you're like, this person's so funny, and then you go to their show and it's the same material?
Yep.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks.
So one of my first, I was door guy at Dallas Hyenas for a very small amount of time, and my first weekend was Nick DiPaolo, and I was ecstatic. I was so ready.
I opened for him, I think, that night.
I think, yeah. I think you were.
I was so mad because like I know Nick DiPaolo, and once I got in the green room, like I was like, oh, I know this guy, but like they told me Randy was like, because he just wanted to have like he didn't want to do opener feature, he just wanted to have one person.
Right.
So Randy's like, hey, because I can work clean. He was like, can you do it clean? I go, yeah, I'll come do it clean. And I show up and I was like, but I wasn't familiar with his act.
Right.
So I go up and he's like, hey, you got to be clean. I was like, okay. And I go up and right before I go up, I go, how do you want me to introduce you? He goes, introduce me as every liberal's worst nightmare. And I was like, hey, I was like, put a gun in my fucking mouth.
Yep.
So I go up there and I do my clean set, and then he goes up there and he's like, hey, what's up, faggots, you fucking retards. He takes a cigarette from somebody and lights it, and then I'm in the back of the room going, you fucking coward.
Yeah.
You fucking coward. Like, you pussy. Like, you need somebody to be clean so you can go up there and then like light the spark. Like,
And
I don't
then-
care how famous he is. What a fucking coward and what a fucking pussy.
And you're still going up and
Every
doing
liberal's
shit
worst nightmare. I would have been your worst nightmare if you didn't put a fucking leash on me, you bitch.
And he's going up and doing 30 minutes. I saw him do 30 minutes on HBO in 2002. Like, I can pull up 50% of his jokes right now on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
That kind of
Free
pissed me off.
trial. You'll cancel it after. But like, and I like Nick. I'm sure he's been in the game 30 years. He's an amazing guy. But I just whenever
He's not gonna see
But
this.
when people, but when people do that, I'm always like, you're such a fucking bitch. You know what I mean? Like, you're what a coward to fucking. I will never, ever, if I make it to that level, tell some other comic who's good enough to be in the green room that this is what you need to do.
Right.
And this is what you have to do for me to be able to go do my thing.
It's almost like he's pandering. Like he's gone so extreme that it was almost a pander.
I have to open up with you're every liberal's worst nightmare, and then you go up and call everybody faggots and retards, and you light a cigarette.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well,
Come on.
And that night he said the hard R so many times.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh,
I'm
it was
sure.
crazy. And then there was one time, this made me laugh, but he said it and then turned to the black guy in the front row that gave him a cigarette, and he goes, right, brother, man? I was like, it's my first night here, and I'm going to have to
Bold
fight
move.
someone. Like, I'm going to have to defend the comic because it's my job, and I'm going to get my ass beat.
Lawrence says a lot of the things that I wish I had the performer comedy clout to say, because I think those same things. I think what are you? I'll watch a lot of people and I'm like, why are you wasting time with this? This gives me nothing about you. For me, my preference, I like learning a little bit about you. I want to feel like I, got something.
Yeah.
Like where if I bumped into you, I would misread the situation and think like we know each other a little bit.
Right.
When you don't know me at all. And I think comedy's proven that, right? Like when somebody is genuine to themselves, even if that's just silly and surface level, if that's you, it's like Pete Holmes is goofy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's himself, you know. Andrew Santino, like his cheeseburger special.
So good.
It's like I tell people, I'm like, I really think you need a theme of some kind to your material for it to exist. Like, why
Right.
do you want to record this? Why do you feel like it's worth giving to the world? Why are you convincing someone to watch it, right? And it's like Santino's stuff didn't get deep, but his whole idea of being a cheeseburger, I just want to be easily digestible trash food that just makes your day a little better.
Right.
Okay, there's your great theme.
Mhm.
You don't have to get up there and get philosophical.
Yeah,
but
it's not a life lesson. It's
what's
a
the
theme.
reason you're doing this? If you're just going to get up there and like, I'm your worst nightmare, it's like, that's so lame.
Yeah.
So fucking lame.
And like, I don't know that comic very well. I don't know their material well, so maybe
So
I
he
don't
was
know. But
he used to be like huge in my eye because I grew up watching Tough Crowd, and he was
I'm
always
the
on Collins.
hugest tough scratch.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm a huge fan of his. Like, I
Right.
mean, I didn't recognize the name, but as soon as I walked in the room, I was like, oh fuck, it's Tough Crowd.
Yeah.
Like, Patrice O'Neal, all those guys. Those are Greg Giraldo was like a fucking hero to me. I mean, I saw
Giraldo.
him before he died.
I just watched the clip last night of him shitting on Dennis Leary again.
Oh, it's one of my favorite.
Yeah,
fucking
sorry,
clips.
Dennis. I came prepared.
Yeah. Sorry, I came prepared. Maybe try writing some fucking jokes. And that's whenever Dennis Leary was like on top of the fucking world, and Greg
Yeah.
was fucking nobody, but he
Well-
was still talking shit to him
Exactly.
because he was better. Because he was better.
He knew exactly where he stood.
he had the ability to write incredible things and be bold without being like, I'm so shocking.
Yes,
You
the
know?
shocking stuff drives me crazy.
Like I've been on the fence. Netflix has that new what's her name? Gatsby or something?
Hannah Gatsby.
Hannah Gatsby. She put together a group of I think are they all transgender or is it all
Oh, Jesus
what is it?
Christ. Is it the new fucking Mennonites? Is that what's
I
happening?
can't remember how it's titled, but it's all either people who are like fluid sexuality
Minions,
or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Not minions.
and
not
it's like
fluid sexuality.
I've been going back and forth. Do I want to watch it? Because the clips I see, it's mostly shock. And it's like, well, do I not like it just because I'm not the audience, or do I not like it because it's genuinely not good comedy? So now I'm thinking like, okay, I'm going to have to give it one watch through and be unbiased. But my gut goes, okay, we're doing a big, giant performative thing, but did you work on the comedy? Because
Right.
I don't care about it. I just want to know, am I going to laugh? Then great. All the other details, if it's pertinent to the joke, fine. If it's not, I mean,
I don't have to listen just because it's playing in the club and everybody loves it. And I'm not saying it's bad. I don't have to go listen to the new Rihanna album. Like that's not on me. That's not my fault. That's not my fault that it's not my thing. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying that it's not good or talented or worthy. It's not my thing.
I just hate the packaging of it.
That's totally okay.
I hate Drake. That's one of my big things that everyone shits on me for. I'm like, it's not made for me.
Yeah.
Drake raps for white girls. Like he raps for white girls, not even in my tax bracket.
Yeah.
Like I'm not supposed to like this.
Yeah, so it's okay. Like I don't have to go listen to it. Like,
Right.
that's totally okay.
I did force myself to listen to Hannah Gatsby though, just because I kind of wanted to shit on it. But out of all of it, there was only one joke that made me kind of snicker, and that was, growing up, I knew more about unicorns than I did about lesbians. And he goes, unicorns aren't real. It was like, that got a chuckle out of me. I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. But then
I remember
45 minutes of just
watching
being,
her first special, though, it's like, and it's okay that we disagree, but I remember her being, and I really did understand where she was coming from, because if you have a lot of negative self-talk in your head, it does drag you down, and I'm a depressed person that has a lot of negative self-talk, so I get what she was saying. But she was like, self-deprecating jokes are like, you're cutting yourself down. And I was like, I thought that's how I survived this long.
Yeah.
Like I kind of like it, like, why are you taking away like the thing that gets me through the day?
quit taking away my opener. Like I have to do something self-deprecating.
And I'm not super self-deprecating. I think I'm honest, but it's not about. I'm not like I'm a piece of shit. I'm like I think you guys probably think the same thing I do,
Right.
and let's pull it out on the table and discuss it.
You pull out what people would be self-deprecating for. You would pull it out in a positive manner, like I do. In TRENA, you talk about. A lot of your themes start off with I was talking to my therapist.
Yeah.
And that's a very fun theme to go off with, because A, comics aren't talking about that. B, therapy is this new thing and it's becoming more and more relatable.
Yeah.
But where was I going with that? I just lost my train of thought. Shit.
You'll find it. Let's all sit quietly.
Yeah.
But the therapist, it kind of creates a patsy to play off of.
Right.
Where whether it's completely true or not, like the outcome, what I'm talking about is true, but saying I was talking to my therapist just creates a dialogue that then creates an environment where we can you're listening into a conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not always that like what I'm talking about, what I did, that happened.
Right.
Whether that's what my therapist said or if I said it to her, it's not always honest.
No, I have a bit like that where I compared Spencer's to going to my grandma's house.
Mm-hmm.
And did any of that ever actually happen? No. But, I mean, I still always did walk into my grandma's house and go, oh, it smells like weed in here. It smells exactly like Spencer's.
They sell sex toys now?
Oh, yeah. That was actually the end of that
sex
bit.
I didn't realize they were still open.
It used
I
to
thought
be.
went
It
under.
used to be lava lamps and black light posters, and now it's dildos.
And there would be like,
I'm like, who's going to the mall to get a dildo? Like,
There was a weird frame of time where they were going to sex toys adjacent, where it'd be like rock candy sexy underwear or stuff like that. I'm like, that's kind of weird, but it still made more sense than the fucking huge ass dildo on the back wall.
Yeah.
No, when I was going to Spencer's, it was just like the poster of like either the woman or the men, like in just like they're almost undressed. Yeah, that's a great example.
Well,
fair
you
faucet.
walk in and they're like, "Hey, do you want a silly T-shirt about Night Before Christmas, or do you want to see the end of Requiem for a Dream?" Because that's at the back. That's at the back.
What level are we at today?
Yeah.
We've got a Tupac t-shirt. This just came in, and we've got a replica of what we think the alien's penis would look like.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm assuming they're all still in malls, right?
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
I can't
That's what I'm
remember
saying.
the
Like,
last time I
who's
really
going to
went
the
to a
mall to
mall.
get
Yeah.
a sex toy?
Is there a
you know?
standalone Spencer's? That might be
know.
the most
Maybe
terrifying.
we can franchise
Yeah.
the first one.
Yeah, I think we should.
This used to be a Verizon store, and now we have dildos, and also that's Ross, like right next
Yeah,
door.
the pandemic changed a lot, right?
It did change a lot. They're like, we got to pivot. We really got to pivot. It's time to pivot.
We got to catch something. Everyone's staying at home now, so everyone's working from their home Wi-Fi. Dildos.
Yeah, I've been there.
Hey, again, we haven't got to talk about this much, but now that it's out, has it reevaluated how you're going to do comedy? Like, are you going to write differently? Or are you going to change things? Or like, how did you feel about it?
Have you seen the new stuff?
Mm-mm.
But you've heard that. I think you
So
told me
I've just
you've
got a
heard.
bunch of hearsay about Lawrence's new material, but
Right.
it's like no offense, but once you edit it and mix it for hours and
Yeah,
hours and
of
hours, like I
course.
need a little break.
You know how hard it was? I never watched the special in one shot. Like it would like I'd have to watch 20 minutes and like just take a walk.
Yeah.
There-
So
you know,
there
that's
were
how we
times
do.
I was just trying to make sure the color matched. So you're watching an hour. You know, I probably watched the full hour maybe 50 or 60 times.
And I feel guilty about that to this day. Like I really do. But like the new stuff is like it's dark, you know, like and people keep telling me that they really when we're talking about writing and you got to move on. I was talking about earlier. I was very happy. Like I was working with Harlan Williams recently. We did 4 or 5 shows sold out at Hyenas, and
Hyenas. I was going to ask if that was
Yeah.
the improv. I just saw he was there recently. So
yeah, we were at Hyenas, and it was cool because you know it was still like 2 months after the special comes out. So like if you come see me right now, you're gonna hear a couple things that were in the I'm not
right.
I want to be prolific, but you know there's a process. But I was very happy that everybody that came to talk to me after the show, and there were so many people that came to talk to me after all the shows, that everybody wanted to talk about the new material. You could tell that that's what was hitting with people.
That's amazing.
That's what was resonating.
So when you're doing it, are you doing your newer stuff later? Like, are you writing in? Okay, I've got 20 new minutes. I've got 25 minutes I have to add from the old stuff, and then as you're writing something new, you just kind of take something off the back.
Well, so I'm featuring. So typically I'll go up and I will try to open with like 5 to 10. That's like I want to like hit hard,
Right.
to create space for me to in the middle do the
Yeah.
new 15,
Okay.
and then close with like I'll close with Jack in a Box. Like I'll close with something like that, just because like you know it is a paid audience and there is an obligation there.
Right. You got to make them. You got to earn that first to do the new stuff.
Yeah, so you earn it, and then you work with the new stuff, and then you close with something strong.
Gotcha.
And then eventually the new stuff will be the opener, and eventually the new stuff will be the closer, and then the old stuff's kind of peppered in
Right.
until it's gone.
Do you ever do like weird games with your set? You make like. There was a dude that kind of changed me up for a little bit. I can't remember who it was that said it, but he said he would force himself to come in and bring his middle bit and make that the opener.
Yeah, I mean, I did this for a decade almost now, where it's like your closer should become the opener, and your opener goes in the middle, and then
Okay.
eventually they all don't exist.
Right. So every joke is just a good joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the what used to be your closer is now the opener, and what used to be the opener is now in the middle.
Right.
So it's like, and then you just kind of keep shuffling it through and processing it through until the whole thing is strong. I think of it as tent poles. So like as you're working on a new hour, it's like I kind of have to set up these tent poles that are like, you know, Jack in a Box, Red River, like some of these older bits. And those are tent poles, and I'm building something new on top of it.
Right.
And
you're-
until that can stand by itself, then slowly you start removing those tent poles. So now,
Gotcha.
now this is standing on its own legs.
That's amazing, dude. That's so incredible because, like I said, I'm in 18 months. So
Yeah.
I'm at the point where I thought I had 15 minutes, and I just recently realized that I definitely only have maybe 6.
That's everybody. I did that.
Yeah.
Everybody did that.
and that's-
Everybody did that.
And that's such a
And a year from now, you should probably be embarrassed by that 6.
oh, of course.
And
I
that
hate
doesn't,
it.
that doesn't mean it's not good right now. That
Right.
doesn't mean it's not good right now.
It's definitely the best I've got, but it's not good.
But if you keep growing, if you keep getting better, a year from now, you're going to go like, man, I fucking hate that 6 minutes I was doing.
Yeah.
I thought it was so good.
And
I
then
And
didn't
to be
fit in."
clear, we hold him to that same standard. Like when we talked about TRENA, we were like, we're 100% happy with this, and we feel like it's a great representation of where he is now. But if we do it correctly, if he does it correctly, it should be the worst one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It should be the worst one.
yeah,
right?
you got to get better every single time. Otherwise, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. And the new 5 that everybody's talking to me about is like I'm doing like this new 5 minutes about suicide and how I daydream about suicide all the time. And the bit ends with me where I literally have a gun in my mouth, like I'm doing a fake gun in my mouth, and it's killing. It's killing.
Literally.
And it's like I literally drove home the other night thinking about it. I was like, that's kind of sad. You know,
That's a
it's
lot.
like it's weird to be like you talk about wanting to kill yourself, and and of course when I set it up, the whole audience is like, oh God.
Yeah.
And then by the end, they're like, yes!
Yeah, and then by the end, everybody's clapping, and I'm like, oh, that was pretty dark. You
do
know
I
what
have
I mean?
to kill myself now?
You see why I needed a break, right?
Yeah. And I call it, it's like a triple backflip. Like, you know, like when you're new at comedy, you're just kind of jumping off the diving board and you're like, I swam, you know, I made it out. I didn't drown. Do you know what I mean? And then eventually you kind of get where you can dive in, and
Right.
then you get where you can maybe do a backflip. And this is like like doing 5 minutes about wanting to kill yourself and getting an applause break at the end is kind of like standing on the back, closing your eyes, and doing a triple backflip.
I'm really intrigued now because I've been to. I'll go watch a lot of open mics,
Right.
And I've watched a lot of really horrible comics talk about suicide. And you're sitting here telling me it's pretty good. And it's like, okay, we'll see.
Oh, by the end of it, I talk about 5 dudes breaking in my. I tell them like I have this John Wick scenario where 5 dudes break into my apartment and they've all got guns and the lights are off in my apartment, but my pants are off. They don't know that yet. and I go. Eventually, one of these guys that's robbing me gets brave enough and he finds a light switch and he flicks it on. And so they've all got their guns pointed at me, and I go, surprise! I've already got a gun in my mouth. Because like, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? And it's like the bit ends with like these 5 dudes robbing me, just going like, hey, just so you know, we rob people. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to us, and they just leave. And I go, and this is how I win.
You taking your power away from them.
Yeah, exactly. I go, depression's my superpower. You know what I mean? It's
That's my biggest irrational fear is one day I'll have to defend this home and I sleep naked. So I'll just have to have my fucking gun and then just dick out, and just from the flash of the gun at nighttime I see my small ass dick.
Yeah, I always say I want to die in something slimming. You know, like
if you're ever worried about losing the fight, instant nudity is always going to throw off the attacker. And I think you go with that.
Oh, the last time I got into a fight, or almost got into a fight with someone, I only got out of it because I walked over crazy to him with eyes, and I just said, "Give me a kiss right now." And then
I talk about in the bit, like in the middle part of the bit where I kind of finally open everybody up. I'm talking about how I am. Like I was like, I don't know what you guys' morning routine is. You know, you drive to work and you think I'm going to kill myself today, but like. The other day, I cut this dude off in traffic, and he pulls up next to me, and he was a big guy, and he rolls down his window fast, and he's like, hey, man, I'm going to fucking kill you. And I go, and I roll down my window real slow, and I look back at him, and I go, I've been thinking that all morning. And the guy goes, what's wrong with you? And I was like, a lot. Keep it moving. I go, he just drove away. And I was like, this is how I win. This is how I win. You know, it's like, so yeah, same scenario. Yeah.
Oh, man. I feel like that's a perfect way to close out, us coming out in our own win. So thank y'all again very much for coming to watch the Dingbat District podcast. If y'all will go ahead and plug up y'all socials again.
Lawrence Rosales, please check out the special. It is on.
It's on the I'm a Fan of YouTube page, so go check that out. Which camera are we on here? Right here? Yep. Yeah, just go to I'm a Fan of on YouTube. At this point, if you just type in Lawrence Rosales TRENA, it's going to take you there. Don't worry about it.
It 100% did. That's what I did this morning.
Cool.
And also go check out Oddball History Podcast. That podcast is very fun to listen to because I'm a dork like that. I like interesting shit. Like
2 other phenomenal comics on that show.
Yeah, Scott,
Jimmy Nelson, Scott Chris.
2 of the best in the city.
Man.
Best in the city. On the top 10. They get in the club.
Good. They were sticking around to wait to see if you put them up there.
Yeah, they were right on the edge of their seats too.
Well, that's perfect. Thank y'all so much for watching. Keep watching, please, for the love of God. Please keep watching. Other than that,
we've been in the house. Please, he needs funds.
Yes, please. Let's get this house finished.
Yeah, 100%. Bye.